is the Conservative Colonel Podcast with Harrison Daws, where one man stands against the rising tide of liberalism. This officer in the battle to preserve our nation is the Conservative Colonel.
Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue.
And here's Harrison Daws.
Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Daws. And before we get into this great episode, I wanted to remind everybody to go check out conservativecolonel.com, our official website. It has a lot of cool little things on it. You can find more information about the podcast and myself, see all the platforms we've been on, listen to the five most recent episodes, figure out some great conservative allies, and see the best of series, which is basically a list of all my favorite podcast episodes we've done so far. And now, we also have the store finally on. So you can go to conservativecolonel.com, click on store, which will take you to a link to be sent to Bonfire because that's where the store is. But right now, we just have logo t-shirts and hoodies. But down the road, I'm going to be putting some historically conservative people on some t-shirts and maybe a couple quotes, maybe George Washington carrying a machine gun, who knows? And we'll be coming out with more t-shirts very soon. So please support us at conservativecolonel.com and make sure you check us out on your podcatcher's choice. We release a new episode every Thursday. Our main platform is Spreaker, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Cashbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Good Pods. If you're one of the sorry few people that would like to see the visual format of the show and see what we look like, God bless you, sir. We released the visual format of the show on Tuesdays on Rumble and YouTube. Links for all that is, of course, on the conservativecolonel.com website. And thank you guys for joining us today. We got a lot of stuff we want to go into, so we're going to jump right into it. Graves is back. I've conned him into it. That black man material is still working strong for me. Go share last week's episode out. Leave it a 5-star review because me and Graves tore it down like I know we're going to tear it down today. But we also have someone new on the show joining us today on this special Thursday. His name is Sam. I'm going to let him introduce himself from there.
Hey, everyone. My name is Sam, as Harrison just mentioned just now. I've been working in the political scene for a couple of years now. You know, I've worked on campaigns and previously worked at a consulting firm. I've also done policy and advocacy, and now I work in social media and marketing. So, still relatively new to the scene, but definitely something that I've been enjoying so far. But Harrison, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Happy to have you on, Sam. And you sure picked a heck of an episode to come on for because we are going to go after Tim Walz, Vice President Harris's VP pick, but we're going to save that towards the end of the show, and we're going to cover some of the political news. I haven't done that in a while, actually, where it's just talking about actual ongoing news in Mississippi or the federal level. So Graves actually has a couple things he wants to talk about. So Graves, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much happened. We touched on the assassination attempt last episode. We touched on Tim Walz a little bit, but more stuff has come out. I think just for me, I'm a little bit mad at the way that the Republicans, Trump's campaign manager, whatever you want to say, just the overall way that this campaign is being ran right now, because not only do I know people inside of it, so I'm hearing their frustrations from the people up top. They're not the ones making the decisions, but there's a lot of money being sat on right now. There's a lot of things that could be done, things that I've done in the past 4 years that Sam has seen being done because he's, we used to work together. We've kind of seen this back end with the consulting and stuff like that. And they're really messing up right now. This should be a landslide. Kamala is one of the worst, not only the most radical, but one of the worst presidential candidates of all time. And then she picked Tim Walz, who we'll get into later, and how bad he is. But we are really just using the fact that we know she's bad to do nothing. I mean, we have $400 million that we're sitting on right now. Now, I do know that Blitz and a couple of other companies that do texting and things like that. My mom sends me she gets a political text. Ever since I got into politics, she gets a political text every single week. And she's been getting multiple a day from the Trump campaign. So they're definitely starting to ramp that up. But texting doesn't do a lot.
Mm-mm.
Sam, I don't know if you were there when we were doing the whole, mud share thing.
No, I
with
remember
McShane.
that.
Yeah, and how most of the responses we got were telling us to politely F off and, stop texting me, take you off your list. Texting doesn't do anything. And, all it is for consultants to make money off of it. That's all it is. They put it out there like it's going to do something. It really doesn't do anything. You could completely take out texting from your campaign plan and nothing will change. But, we're doing that. We've sat on doing nothing for a month when it comes to actual grassroots outreach, which the Republican Party is supposed to be part of that because the Democrats are supposed to be the party that has, the big donors, and they don't need to do the grassroots outreach because of the vote blue no matter who thing. And, we're watching one of the worst presidential candidates versus, in my opinion, and even my grandmother's opinion, who's 92, best presidential candidates of all time go against each other. Who's got the momentum right now? Not us.
And it's so weird because, again, you feel like with the assassination attempt and the Republican National Convention, we should be on fire right now. The Democrats should only be creeping up because their convention is showing up. And usually after a convention, it switches for a bit before it steadies back out. But it confuses me on so many levels because you have, as you said, the worst president nominee and vice president nominee maybe in the history of the country. And that's saying something. We've had some bad ones, but they just stand against everything that America is, from being just socialist on the verge of communism. I mean, my favorite thing Trump has done so far is call them Comrade Harris and Comrade Walz.
I saw that.
I laughed for about 5 minutes because I laughed, but it's true. And we'll talk about Walz, and we've talked about Harris before in the past. And as we get closer to Election Day, we'll probably do a whole episode dedicated to just those two people because, I mean, Tim is the gift that keeps on giving. His past is just a gift to us. And, I mean, Harris is going to put her foot in her mouth at some point. But
she already does, just the media covers for her.
Yeah, so they're, bless their heart. I think they're working harder than they did with Joe. But it blows my mind because, again, we're seeing the two worst picks definitely of our lifetime. Definitely at least of ours and at least my grandparents' lifetime. And they're up there with probably the country's worst picks in our almost 250-year history. It's quite an accomplishment. And yet, we don't feel like we have the momentum.
To take that from you real quick, Harrison. Well, what the media is probably only going to try to do, they're going to try to keep her in this, quote unquote honeymoon phase. They're just going to keep gassing everybody up. They're just, doing what they are doing in order to save face and try to, the whole, we'll talk about the basement strategy and all that, as you mentioned, but they're just, it's been 24 days now since she's been in the race. She hasn't done like a press conference. She hasn't done an interview. She's been done a lot of rallies, yes, but she has not, been on one-on-one where the media is not really kind of covering for her and all of that. And so that's, I think, their whole thing right now is the media is going to try to cover for them. They're going to try to do as much as they can to, keep her boosted up. They're doing the same thing with Tim Walz, obviously, now that he's the VP pick, where, as you mentioned, a lot has come out about him too that we'll touch on, sure. And it's asinine that it's still able to happen, and with next week being the DNC, it's only going to kind of go from there. And after she's already disagreed to a press conference, or not a press conference, but a debate with Trump. Trump has 3 debates that he has agreed to. He's got one with Fox, one with ABC. That's the only one Kamala's agreed to. She disagreed to the one with Fox. She agreed to the one with ABC, Tony Turf. And I believe NBC is the last one. And, he's doing 3 things with them. He's agreed to that.
And she probably won't show up. And he should still show up and just make it like a town hall.
I agree. I think he said he would do that. I think I don't want to shoot my own mouth off, but I think that's what he said he would do.
Well, as he should. I mean, honestly, again, what scares me about Harris is maybe one of the worst public speakers and public personas I've seen. But the thing that scares me about Harris is she's actually pretty intelligent, I think. And I think she's almost leaning into the idiot Democrat. And I think if we're not careful, there's a good chance they could figuratively and literally steal the election. And that scares me. But I think Trump needs to do that with the debates, because the debates are always something Americans want to see, simply because you get 2 ideologies getting to go up against each other under a microscope. There's not many conservative media out there. If we're being honest, Fox is not really one. I will never forget
only in certain hours of the day.
Certain hours of the day. I mean, if you look at it, in 2020, the upper corporate almost threw a party when Trump lost. In 2016, I know someone who worked at Fox at the time, and he looked at me and was like, it looked like someone had just committed mass murder in the office. Everybody was in shock, silence. No one there in the office wanted Trump to win. That's in 2016.
Because that was maybe, if we don't change things, maybe the last actual legitimate election results. I'm not kidding.
Oh, I know. That's scary.
Because that's why they were so shocked.
Yeah,
because it was legit.
You have Fox. What were the other 2 again, Sam? Fox,
Fox, ABC, and I believe NBC was the last one that Trump agreed to.
All of them will.
I believe the ABC one was the same one that Trump was supposed to do with Joe, and so Kamala's basically gonna take the spot. But
she refused to do the Fox one.
Yeah, she outright disagreed to that one. I think this last one, like I said, I believe it's ABC. And there's been no other word about that. It just kind of is in the air.
Well, it's not like it's Newsmax where it's like, okay, yeah, they're very conservative. I can get you not wanting to be on someone else's turf, even though we're going to yours. But NBC,
I mean,
they're pretty.
Trump is, and Trump is sitting here. He's agreed to. He already did one on CNN. He's about to do one on basically 2 more liberal media groups, and then he wants to do one on a conservative, group. And it's like they're calling Trump scared to debate Kamala. At the same time, he's agreed to do a total of 4 debates, but he wants just one, to be on Fox News. They're just having none of it.
To touch on that one too, Trump has also shown up to there was like a Bitcoin convention. He went up spoke to that. He spoke with the libertarians, a while ago. He spoke at the Libertarian Convention. He went there, went to the Bitcoin convention, expo, whatever. I forget exactly what it's called. Just recently, too, he went to the National Association of Black Journalists convention as well. So, he's going to all this kind of not enemy territory, but at the same time, they're not so much friendly people. He's at least going there and, putting it out there. He's, showing up in quote unquote enemy territory. And he's just putting his message out there too. It's not Kamala, and I don't even think Joe Biden did the same thing either. They weren't around media that aren't friendly. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense to you guys.
They complain. Yeah. They complain when the media actually starts asking them questions, just like Karine Jean-Pierre. If she starts getting asked real questions by reporters there in that White House press secretary room, like she just shuts it down. So I don't know what you're talking about, or you'll have to refer to these people. But it's
like
crazy,
it's your job.
Man. Yeah. No, she's, and I don't know why people, if there's any of those new liberals that listen to this, don't get mad about this, but she is the definition of a DEI hire, and that is not racist. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It's not racist to say that. Like, trust me, I have seen the effects of that in even what I do, and it's not personal. It's just a fact that we are hiring and giving people positions of power that do not at all deserve it. Kamala Harris is an amazing example of that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and I'll agree with you. I think it is just look. And I feel like that's more racist than what they always throw on us. Lying, saying the Republican Party's racist. They're like, look, we hired an African American. Please, all of you clap for me, a white man in my 80s. And raises his hand. And I'm like, all right, time out, dude. I'm going to have to call out the hypocrisy here.
Joe Biden the other day, Sam, you probably have seen this too. Maybe you have as well, Harrison. But, he was like, I've put the most gay and black people in my administration that has ever been. And look, I'm not saying I condone it, but somebody commented that that's probably why this administration sucks. And it has nothing to do with race, but when you take out the fact that you're hiring people based off what they can do and their experience and their qualifications and just do it because they are a certain way, you get worse results. It's just a fact of life. I mean, let's everybody's like, oh, it's 2024, it's different now. Well, let's think about if it wasn't different. Let's go back to when none of this stuff that y'all are so pumped and pretty and just scared of reality. Let's go back to when there wasn't really civilization. What would have happened if you had somebody that was just like, I am this certain way, so I'm the best hunter there is. You have to elect me as your village leader just because they're a certain way. In all of time, even now, your feelings don't matter. Whoever's the best to lead is who should be. Right now, that's Trump.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. You got anything on it?
I think it also kind of boils down to the administration that's been happening right now. They're going to try to gaslight voters by claiming that the economy is good, that inflation's down from whenever they took office. Inflation was more than double. It is still now more than double since the Biden-Harris administration has come into play. People our age, we're all probably, I assume in like our mid-20s and anything like that too.
Don't remind me.
None of us really, we can barely afford rent. Gas is outrageous from what it was compared to Trump. And groceries don't, groceries are also up, gas is also up, rent, we can barely get by with rent. And, at least with under Trump, thankfully I was in college under Trump. I could afford to, commute from college to my home. I could afford to be able to go do things. A lot of people's savings are down too. People's savings are in the negatives now. At least with Trump, people had money to save and, be able to do other things that, they maybe wanted to do. With, under the Biden-Harris administration, you can't do anything. You got to scrape by just to get by, or you got to have a couple different jobs in order to get by too. That's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Sam. And it's funny that you bring it up, and we'll kind of scammer on back to Harris's campaign on that. Or I'm giving you guys the door opportunity. Y'all do with it what you will. But I always loved how Harris has been like, Biden economics, we've made you guys so y'all saving money. The economy's great. But if there's anything wrong with it, I'll fix it if you elect me. She's saying that on a lot of stuff, that she'll fix it if you elect me. And I've not seen a lot of people even bring the fact up. She's been in office for 3 years. If she was going to actually fix the issues you're having, America, I think she would have done it in those 3 years. Mm-hmm. She has not done any of it. She has refused to even do some of the stuff she's been tasked to do, like with the border. She refuses to help the people of America. But yet, all these liberals are just blind to the fact every liberal I know complains about the economy. Everybody's complaining about the economy. My car got declined the other day by getting a pack of gum. And it shocked the crap out of me. And I looked and, my bill's hit. That came a bit earlier than expected.
No, that happened to me this weekend. I'm not going to lie. Under this economy, and I'm not trying to out myself here. I make good money, everybody listening. I make good money. But because of the Trump campaign, that's another reason I'm mad at them. A month off of work in this economy broke me. I had plenty of money. I was completely comfortable. This past weekend, when my bills came in from the beginning of the month, I was in the negative for the weekend.
Same.
So, it's under the Trump economy, I can guarantee you I'd still have a couple $1,000 left.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off is everybody's like, oh, well, you can barely buy groceries. I know, I can't either. I can barely afford my electric bill. Yeah, I know. They're telling me all the stuff they can afford, and then they look at me and blame someone that hasn't been in office in nearly 4 years, and I'm like, what?
They've been doing politics their whole lives, and Trump just got into it.
Yeah.
In that one term. And
one term,
everything that's wrong with the country is his problem.
Is tied to Trump. Not the people that have been in office for 50 years like Joe.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you know what? To touch on a few more of those things too, mind you, these recent policy stances that she's all of a sudden adopted between since running now, which if you even go to her website for KamalaHarris.com, at least at the time of this recording anyway, which has no policy positions. It's just who Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is, and they're donating to us. Essentially, that's all in their store, whatever.
That's all it is, yeah.
These recent policy stances, we're going to fix inflation. You could easily do that now. We're going to, fix the border. We're going to secure down the border. You could fix that now. And the most recent one, that I don't know where she got this idea from. No taxing on tips for services, for hospitality workers and all of that.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I wonder who came up with that idea, man. That's a crazy idea.
I'm glad you asked who came up with that, Sam, because I wanted to bring it up, and you can get back to it after this, Sam. You can ask Graves. I cut people off without mercy, so you're going to have to fight to get back in. You have to fight.
I think we all do it. Look, we got multiple people on here. Yeah. We all have our brains,
But 2 months ago, 2 months ago, Trump makes the announcement that he will stop taxing tips if elected. CBS sends out a tweet that says, and I quote, former President Trump vows to stop taxing tips that would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. Trying to say, well, see, they don't have a dog in this fight, which is bullcrap at this point. Everybody has a dog in the hunt. But then, not 2 days ago, CBS comes back and they say Vice President Harris is rolling out a new policy saying that she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. And they're so proud of her. And look at her fighting for the little man and making sure that the working class gets the help they desperately need. Please, Trump, I'm begging you. But, you know, that it shows you perfectly why I started this show. It shows you
the media bias there.
The legacy media is not what it used to be. It's absolutely awful.
Well, I have a question, too, that has to do with, let's take a little history trip here back to what our founders wanted. Remember, we threw tea in the harbor over like a 1% tax.
Oh, yeah.
And here we are today. Why in the heck would we let the federal government take $250 billion of our own taxes that we receive as citizens over 10 years? How much is that a year? Why are we letting them do that? Why should we let them be mad? We should be mad at them for being mad that we would lose that. We should not be having that much money from tips taxed to the government.
And then just going to various other programs that may or may not ever, do anything, and go into
like
too many departments that you can't even name them all.
Studying the sex habits of fish in the Gulf of Mexico, which I brought up on an episode last year.
It still blows my mind. Like, look, I get it.
Wait. Was that a? You caught me off guard for a second. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Off guard. He said the same thing when I said that last year.
I just had to stop. We paused the show last year, and I was like, "What did you just say?"
That's funny. Okay, I'm sorry. Please continue.
But I get throwing stuff into. I'm a historian. Before I realized how bad liberal colleges are, I was going to be a history professor. I love history. I'm writing 2 or 3 history books right now. God help me.
I'll buy one.
Thank you. One's on the American Revolution. So, hey, but it was just so liberal. And I honestly hate to tell you, I just almost had a brain fart and forgot where I was going, but I've just now remembered it. So I understand history programs or science programs coming to the government. Hey, we need a fund. But, I mean, a couple million on that. I think with how much the university charges, you can get a little money. You can go out there or, better yet, save a budget over a couple years. Maybe actually budget your budget that you get from the government. And maybe save up and do that study. But no, we're doing all these stupid studies. We're paying countries billions of dollars, sometimes getting close to $1 trillion, that we can't afford to give anymore. Last time I checked, which was a couple episodes ago, we are $34 trillion into debt. 34. When I was a boy, we were at 17, maybe 15 trillion. So in the span of a decade or two, or no, 1 decade, in the span of 1 decade, we have doubled our national debt. And we don't tighten the belt. We just keep spending. And then everybody's looking around like, well, it must be Trump's fault. The man who was only in office for 4 years. What?
Yeah.
It blows my mind, the people's thinking. It really does. It dumbfounds me.
And that just takes me kind of to the basement strategy of Kamala Harris, is that they use the media to prop these candidates up and to make them win. Because Joe Biden, when he campaigned, he did less rallies than Kamala's doing right now, but Kamala's rallies, let's be completely honest, they're paying people to hold signs. They're paying people to do an interview with the media. They're, getting a famous female rapper to twerk on stage before she comes out.
Don't get me started on that again.
And then as soon as that rapper's performance was done, people started leaving the stage.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they did, and they're like, well, Trump's not getting as many people as he did. You know what videos they're posting? They're posting videos from hours before Trump gets there, like 2, 3, 4 hours before he gets there. There's already people in there waiting for him, which is kind of impressive in itself that earlier before it actually starts. But at the same time, they're trying to say that that's like right before he comes out. It's not. So everything that you're seeing right now, besides a few different companies and a few different people, is propaganda. The Krasenstein brothers.
Like Brian and Ed, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
You also have Harry Sisson and Chris Mowry, however you say his last name.
Whatever.
There are a couple of the big ones too, and they're actual DNC ops.
Yeah,
they're
paid by
actual
Pallet
people.
Media. DNC pays Pallet Media. Pallet Media pays them.
I guess it's cliche to come out of a Jeffersonian conservative to say don't trust the government and don't trust media anymore. But, I mean, you honestly can't anymore. You have to double check everything that they tell you now. And that's honestly sad. We used to value truth a lot more in this country. But now, if you see something on the news, okay, well, let me make sure they're telling us the right thing. If you hear something from the governor, the president, your senator, having to be like, I just don't know if he's lying or not. Don't get me.
You know what? I think one of the best things that come from a certain scenario or a situation like that is the rise of independent outlets, independent people, independent platforms. Especially after Elon Musk took over Twitter, bought Twitter, and now Twitter's fun again. Before it was very much a very leftist liberal echo chamber of just the same opinion all the time. Now there's just not only is there different opinions on Twitter, shockingly, we can have different opinions. Now there's opportunities for creation jobs from Twitter as well. Just from there was already stuff like that before. There's been influencers for a long time now. Not just political influencers on both sides, but there's a whole social media. Now you have this whole other stream of revenue coming from their monetization now, and now you can make money posting on Twitter. The requirements for that, I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but there just from one person essentially saying something's got to change. Now it's impacted millions, if not billions, of lives, which is kind of crazy to think.
I mean, hence why we're all here right now. I mean, this is an independent news and political opinion show. I mean,
and Sam has actually been working in that. He's been in that media side of it for a minute. Not
promote me, Sam.
Yeah. You need to. Your company that will not be named here needs to promote the Conservative Colonel podcast on their Twitter page.
I'll get them in trouble.
Taken back from everything just a little bit. What's kind of crazy to me is that yesterday marked the 1 month since the Trump assassination, and now we're at a point now where no one's even really talking about it yet. It was and I understand news cycle changes and all of that, but this was an actual attempt. Whenever when was the last time something like this happened? Decades ago.
Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now no one's talking about it now. And then you had, you know, other companies censoring the event. You had news outlets saying that they didn't know if they were actual, gunshots, if they were just,
Oh, yeah.
loud noises, or if you
Yeah, they
had
literally said loud noises.
you had, I think, Meta and Facebook, and I don't know if Instagram either, but you at least had Meta.
I got a couple. I've got Google, the Chat GPT claiming that Trump had never been shot, that there are no evidence to support those claims. And then like it goes around. It says, but I saw him get shot. That's what the guy sends back to Chat GPT. But it says, well, you might have been watching a movie with a fictitious character that looked like Trump, and you had forgotten. Like, even the deadgum AI is covering for Harris and them, trying to downplay the assassination attempt.
And liberals will claim that the AI is not updated enough so that it doesn't have that information yet. But then if you ask it if Kamala Harris, boom, if you ask if Kamala Harris is running for president, it'll have it. And Trump was shot before that. So
they'll have her VP pick.
Yeah.
And tell a bit about him.
To also park on that just for another second, you had Meta and Facebook, if you would try to, I think, upload the image of him with his fist in the air, they said it was, I think they tried saying it was like AI generated or a deepfake or something like that, to which, at least with Mark Zuckerberg, he actually later apologized about that,
right,
too. So give him credit where credit's due. Yeah, but it's the fact that this happened in the first place. And I'm sure even with Twitter, there's still a lot of, very left-leaning people still working there that are going to, do what they do there to, suppress all they can. But the fact of the matter is that there's, Donald Trump is going around doing all these different things, putting his message out there. Like I said earlier, with him going to the Black Journalists conference, going to a Bitcoin conference, speaking at the Libertarian Convention, to now, doing Twitter Spaces, which is kind of crazy, which is crazy to think about. And then I believe I saw a tweet from Elon Musk where
didn't they get like 1 billion views on that?
Yeah, he said it was around 1 billion from people talking about it, the views there, and a couple of other things.
Over 1 billion views. It crashed the whole app. So many people watching it, and it caused a cyber attack to happen on Twitter and Elon Musk's personal page.
Yeah, the DDoS attack. Me and Sam couldn't get in for a while.
Well, then also Trump also, last week before, was now with Aiden Ross, who is one of the, I don't know if he's the number one streamer, but he's definitely the top streamer in the world that definitely targets generations like, ours and younger generations too. So he's going all these different avenues and routes, and you have someone like Kamala Harris who's using memes to, definitely, it's someone even on her Twitter page, her Kamala Wins page or her Kamala HQ page, I believe it's Kamala HQ, it's being written as it's, trying to gravitate towards a Gen Z voter, which, we're not certainly not the majority of voters quite yet for a while, but, one day we will eventually be, same with other generations previously before us. And it sounds like it's being written to target us, They, their press statement on the whole Trump Twitter Space thing was, I think the headline of it was something along the lines of, Kamala Harris's response to whatever's going on with Trump and Elon Musk, and, there's platforms on Twitter, parentheses, we're not calling it X, parentheses, and, a couple of just, and I think people see a little bit. I think people do see it. They're like, hey, this is, they may think it's kind of cringy, which honestly a lot, not only do a lot of people admit it, but it just kind of is, They're like, okay, it's kind of cringy the way this is acting, and the whole thing of Kamala's brat meme that was going around for a while. What made me even more mad the most is that you can't do the whole, fell out of the coconut tree thing anymore. It's no longer stupid now. They turned it into a meme. They killed the joke. It's like the same thing that happened with Dark Brandon. As soon as, he did his, I think it was a State of the Union address or like a presidential dinner or something like that. I forget what it is. As soon as he put on, the Knight Rider shades, Dark Brandon meme died. Before it was funny. Now you killed it.
Yeah.
To make a meme out of it. And it kind of plays that plays in the internet culture a little bit too, where, obviously a lot of us a lot of voters our age are hanging around and all that. But, it's kind of just crazy to me that that's kind of where we're at now. And the evolution of political campaigns, the evolution of media, that's what it is now. That's what it's going to be whenever we start becoming the majority over time. Within the next couple decades, we'll get to that point where a big portion of voters, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or other third party.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, because we're technically old Gen Zers. We were born, or I was born at like the very start of it. And I don't know when you were born, Sam, but I'm technically what I've been called an old Gen Zer. As long as they don't call me a Zoomer. I hate that term. I hope it burns. I never want to see it appear again. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to continue this conversation and jump into Tim at some point. We're getting close to him. Don't worry. So we'll be right back after this commercial break. All right, welcome back. Now it is time to talk about Governor Tim Walz, the VP pick of Harris, and possibly one of the worst VP picks in American history. Sam has some stuff he wants to say on him, so I'm going to go ahead and let Sam take over.
Well, you know what? Thank you, Harrison. But with Tim Walz, which, given the choices that they had between the Democratic candidates, this is probably, the three finalists were Josh Shapiro, who's the governor of Pennsylvania, you had Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, very much blue state. Between those three options, this was in why. That's the only question I can ask is why. I don't understand what he would bring to the ticket. I think with him, they were trying to, do like the Midwest vote, just because Wisconsin and Michigan are right. At least with those states, those states were very not heavily, but, they were leaning towards Trump. If they would have picked Josh Shapiro, they could have easily locked in Pennsylvania. He's a very likable governor there. Mark Kelly, same thing with Arizona, could have locked in Arizona. At least, but with Tim Walz and all the information that's come out about him, there's been a lot of skeletons that obviously came around since he's been announced and everything. And one of the things that I remember seeing from one of the news outlets was that, well, because he was a congressman before he became a governor, and now, they tried saying, well, whenever he was elected to Congress, he won in a district that was very moderate. He was like a moderate congressman. But since being governor, he's been anything but moderate. He's been a full-blown lefty. He supported Minnesota becoming a sanctuary state. That's not very moderate. Signed a law that allows legal immigrants to be eligible for driver's licenses. That's not very moderate. Removed any limitations for abortion in Minnesota. That's not very moderate. Protected gender affirming health care and allowing children access to hormone treatments. That's not very moderate. He did all of these things that's not moderate whatsoever. And they're trying to, paint him as this, American dad, real rugged American, just your average everyday Joe. And that's simply not true. That is utter gaslighting if I've ever seen or thought of it or anything like that. It is just straight up not true, and it's straight up gaslighting about Tim Walz.
And I don't want to put this. From the people I've talked to in Minnesota, I've talked to a couple, And of course, there's that famous post from an ex-wife of a football player that she was like, "He has destroyed this state, and now y'all want him to be vice president?"
Yeah, I think that was oh man, I know what football player you're talking about. He's still in the NFL, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see that, and he played for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name right now, but
receiver Adam
Thielen.
Yeah.
Yeah, his wife. Yeah, for sure. And, he taken the pedophilia stuff out of
we'll get to that.
It was like
was.
it was language or something that would have protected pedophiles essentially, or anti-pedophile language being taken out to protect something along those lines. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just found out about that too.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us are just now finding out stuff about Tim Walz. Like obviously, you knew if you worked in politics, you at least knew he was like a governor of Minnesota. You didn't maybe know too much of what he did, but now since everything's out, obviously it's going to happen with him being the VP pick. All the skeletons are going to start coming out, and there's
been so much. That's why I don't trust the polls, man. I really don't. I don't know. I feel like this country right now is in such a weird position. Like if we don't, and I don't want it to sound weird, but if we don't elect Donald Trump, what is going to happen to this country? I mean, I know what kind of will happen. It'll be bad. But how bad could it get? Because this is the most radical ticket that we've ever seen.
That's another thing, too. This is definitely the most left ticket completely, And then now I've seen a commercial or I've seen ads starting to go around now about Kamala Harris because I follow all the ads and I follow I try to follow as much as I can what's going on. Obviously, I work in the field. And, they ran this ad of Kamala Harris being like, being a prosecutor, she's going to, crack down on crime. She's going to crack down on at the border, both things that she could have done anyway, where, even whenever she was a prosecutor and anything like that, she locked up people past their sentence to use for labor for California. She could have easily been stemming stuff at the border this entire time and just hasn't. She hasn't done it. But then they tried to run to her defense of, she wasn't really the border czar. She was just in charge of finding stuff out about this country and that country and that country, trying to defend them as much as she can. Was such a weird take. Was to the left of Bernie Sanders from GovTrack or GovTrack, I believe, before they took it down. Wanted to ban fracking completely. Wanted no fracking whatsoever. Now all of a sudden I think they said, she doesn't want to ban fracking. She doesn't want to do any of that. The only real platform that they have to run on, and the only thing that they've had to run on this entire time is just abortion. That's the one platform that they've just been able to run on, because what else do they have to run on? They can't talk about crime. They can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about inflation. They can't talk about the border. They
try to, but they can't go in depth. Like they can't say this is what we've done, or this is what we're gonna do. Because they're not.
There's no record to show. There's no track of any progress or anything like that to show anyway. Because this entire time, which mind you, anyway, this is one thing that I wanted to mention too, is that after this entire time until not even a month ago, it's been Trump versus Joe Biden, where.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but given the choice between the two, say it without saying it. And now all of a sudden, you've got Kamala Harris, who wasn't even popular as a vice president. Nobody liked her as vice president either. The one person that people hated more than Joe Biden, I think, was Kamala Harris, because she came off as unlikable. She came off as cringy. And now within less than a month, she's now, the cool aunt, which is utterly, which is asinine to even think about that. That's how much the media has been able to spin stuff in less than a month, mind you, that they've turned her into like a sweetheart. And
you're really seeing the full effect of the vote blue no matter who. Like,
Oh yeah.
The one thing that I am the most angry about, and I don't know about you guys, the one thing that I'm angry about, or the group of people I'm angry for, are Democrat primary voters. And now, hear me out. You know, the entire time of Trump versus Biden, they were obviously voting for Joe Biden. Now, less than a month ago, they basically just got told that, hey, you know, this guy, 15, you know, however many million primary Democrat voters there were, they're no longer getting the candidate that they wanted or that they voted for. They don't have that anymore.
And you want to know what's funny about that, Sam? That is the most Democrat Party thing I've seen in a while, because it just makes me laugh and smile every time someone brings it to my attention, because not only did they stage a coup, got Joe out, threatened Joe with the 25th Amendment, but they also took the voice away from millions of liberals and Democrats that voted for Joe Biden to be their nominee. And they want to look at us and say we're a threat to this constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. And they want to say that to us. But no, they literally took away the voice of their people. And that's why I've stopped saying socialist. I'm saying they're communist at this point, because that's all they have to show for this, party for everyone crap they say they are.
You know,
most of the time, socialism turns into communism.
Oh,
most of the time.
The quote unquote party of democracy committed one of the most anti-democratic things you could possibly do, and install a candidate. That's essentially what happened. You know, you basically told those 13, 14, 15 million primary voters, again, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. You told all of those voters, you're going to vote for this person now. And you either get on board or you get out of the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say that that's exactly what happened, but if it ain't close.
Look, they're so desperate to try to change, because they know that they have terrible policies. And I'm not just talking about Kamala and Joe. I'm talking about the Democratic Party as a whole. Everybody that runs that thing. They know they have terrible policies, that they are not helping people. They don't want to help the people. They don't care about helping the people. They're about helping themselves. And that's what you see when they are in office, and with the propaganda that they push when they are in office or even not in office. But they are so desperate right now that you can go on Indeed and apply to be a influencer for them.
I think a couple influencers actually just came out about that they had received emails from not the campaign, but I believe a super PAC. Yeah,
that's one of them.
They got emails from, I don't believe the campaign, but from maybe a super PAC or something like that.
I think it was a PAC, yeah.
So basically, hey, can you post, pro Kamala, pro Democrat?
They wanted Kai to have
content.
her. They wanted Kai to have her on his stream,
and that's
so
definitely,
they were directly trying to link Kai to her.
That's definitely after the whole Aiden Ross and Trump thing. I guarantee you that's why they did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
kind of
go
like
ahead, Harrison.
Sorry, I'll be quick. But kind of like you said, Sam, it's funny that the party that's about democracy and allowing the majority to rule, that's what democracy is. It's not allowing everyone to have an equal say in what the government is. No, that's the republic. That's what we have now. A democracy lets the biggest crowd make the decisions.
Right.
And it's so funny that the party that is, their lifeblood. They always say that Trump is a threat to democracy. We are here to preserve democracy. We are here to make sure that we are a true democracy. Took away the democracy's vote on the presidential nominee.
They took away the whole point of democracy.
Yes.
They took the definition and just tossed it, and that I don't want to just be angry about that or other people to be angry. I want Democrat voters to be angry about that. I want them to be. I feel bad for that because they just had their vote wasted.
I wish they could see it.
The sad thing is that I'm sure a few of them have seen that. I'm sure a few have, but a lot of them, they may just accept it and just say, okay, I guess I'm voting for this now, that is what I don't want. And I want them to be angry, and I want them to be mad, and I want them to voice their opinion, and they're just, a lot of them may just not. And that's what's saddening, fellas. That is what's saddening to me.
Yeah, I don't think they will speak up, and I don't think I think the majority of them will just, like a happy camper, just be like, yeah, I like Kamala now. So
that's just the state. I don't want to say the state of the party. I don't want to say that, but
there's both political parties right now are in some kind of state.
I think it's definitely it's a very transformative state. I think there's certainly a lot of changes going on, not just within the Democrat Party, but with the Republican Party as well. The chip stand did, and any of that. But I think it's one of those things where in our lifetime there's never going to be a more consequential decade even, than I think we're going to see right now. I can remember being in college during, the 2016 election. And, I remember going to bed because I think at this point, Snapchat, you could take like a photo or something and it was like counting the electoral votes, updating whenever it could. And I went to bed and I was like, okay, I guess Hillary Clinton's going to be, the next president. She had the electoral votes. Trump had the popular vote. Overnight, it flipped, and now it's kind of crazy to me how much things have changed. And I feel like even a lot of our generation, a lot of younger men, I believe as well, from what I read before, they're starting to, lean a little bit more to the right. They're starting to lean more conservative and Republican and all that, because I think how we got, our generation for sure got tested out with social media. We obviously grew up with very, left-leaning media and social media and all that. And I think now, given with what I said before about, there being more free speech access on social media and specifically on Twitter, and us kind of growing up around that culture and everything, we can, pick apart things a little bit easier versus, older generations that may still just rely on traditional media, rely on, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, things like that. That's where they get a lot of their news from. But now our news comes from not only traditional media, but from social media, from independent people. So now we've got a different hodgepodge of opinions coming around where we can, pick apart these different opinions and, do our research rather than just taking things at face value, because you can't anymore. I know you touched on that earlier. You can't just take things at face value anymore. You got to be able to do your own research and be able to, pick apart these points. And, the main thing to do is ask questions. No one asks questions anymore. No one does that anymore now. And I think that's what, at least our generation, I think they are trying to do that a little bit more. I would like to think so anyway. And with the younger generation growing up as well, I feel like that's what's going to happen. And I hope that's what happens.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think you have definitely, I would say you saw it in 2020 and a bit in 2016 after Trump got elected, then after Trump lost or got the election stolen from him, just to clarify. Hi, YouTube. Don't restrict the page again. But I think since then, in 2024, you have seen a major rise where these independent media companies are pulling in more viewership than traditional. Weird guy. I haven't really stopped to dive into him. I've watched a couple of his videos. They've been great. But one to always come to mind now is the Daily Wire, and how they get more views than Fox, CNN. I mean, they're massive. And then look at someone who, if you're looking for a definition of an independent news person, look at Steven Crowder, because it's just him, the people he's hired, and he pulls in more views than CNN and Fox. But there's even greater example now I just thought of. Tucker Carlson.
Mhm.
Tucker now is the #1 podcast in the world. He has started up his own news network where he does interviews and so much and so on. But he brings in more views than Fox, CNN. Heck, probably them combined at this rate. You've definitely seen in this year the rise of independent news outlets, independent resources, independent political view, simply because not only is it like this with the show where it's extremely easy for me to do this podcast or to upload an episode. I mean, it's not rocket science, and I'm a farmer from Mississippi, so you know it's easy. And all of a sudden, I'm on every massive political platform in the United States, and one in India. We are on an India platform.
What?
The biggest Indian platform in the country. We're on. The Conservative Colonel podcast is being broadcast in India. But
one more thing to add too. They just did some numbers recently where it's like voter registration changes and what states have gained people from.
Oh, I saw that.
From these different states. And I think the Republicans...
That was very promising, I'm not going to lie.
From November of 2020 to last month, from July, I think Republicans gained, it was like over 300,000 voters between these states.
And Dems lost 3.5 million.
Yeah, Democrats lost 3.5 million voters from party changes and all that.
I think there is going to be a new wave of conservatism, but we'll get into that to a later date. We are going to take one more quick commercial break, and then we'll get back. We are going to roast Tim alive. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial break. I almost made my life so much difficult. Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel podcast. I almost forgot to take a picture of the timestamp when we took the commercial break, which just would make my life a bear and a half. And I'm pretty sure I didn't do that for the first commercial break. Nope. So that's going to be fun later. But I do want to talk about Tim Walz. We'll probably do a whole episode dedicated to him. I'll give it another month, you would think, Graves?
Maybe. I'm going to be up in Wisconsin basically until the end of October. Like, be working until about a week until the election, and then at that point, I would not be surprised if they extend it and, we work through the election and a couple of days after fixing mail-in ballots. Because that happens, but
Well, I know you'll be busy, but I would love to see if we could find time to film it. But if not, I will try to film one exclusively on Harris. She is also a gift to the conservative movement, but Tim Walz is the gift that keeps on giving, and that's why I almost want to do a whole episode dedicated to him, simply because the man is just like. He just doesn't stop. He continues to give me the best content to make a show off of. So I might do a whole episode. I don't know. We might have a guest on for that. I don't know. But it'll be down the road, probably closer to the debate next month. So we'll see. Maybe that's a good time to post them out there. Who knows? Who honestly knows? But Graves, take your pick. We can talk about him putting a 95% tax increase on Zen packets, which are pretty popular in our generation.
I saw that, yeah.
Gathering in large numbers in churches. We simply don't want that happening. An exact quote from Tim during COVID. And one that I'm definitely going to be on a rant for a minute is signing a bill making it illegal to discriminate against pedophiles.
Mm-hmm. I watch a lot of those shows like Chris Hansen catching pedophiles.
You have to catch a predator.
Yeah. A lot of people actually do that now. Like,
I feel like Tim's going to be starring in an episode.
I mean, I think he would be, because not only did he put tampons in boys' bathrooms, and also what you just said, but the fact that he has made it legal or well, at least he signed on to a bill that made it legal for transgender men or transgender women, so who used to be men,
Who
to
are
play in
men?
women's sports. Yeah, who are men to be able to play in women's sports just because they claim that they're a woman. If I'm not, I'm not a big guy. I'm like 5'10.5" ish, like 185 pounds. But if I were to go into a UFC against a trained woman fighter, I'd probably still win. I mean, because I'm not, like I touched on it in the last episode, I'm not a feminine male. So, I'd probably still win. But they are just completely normalizing this. You got people that actually train for that who are literal men.
The Olympics.
Going in, yeah. And, they also mock God a lot. But that comes from people like Tim Walz, the people that support Tim Walz, people that Tim Walz supports. I mean, he is part of why you're seeing this huge transition from, we used to be a godly country into a country that now is almost not recognizable, not only in a religious sense, but political sense and, media sense. Like everything has changed in the past 10 years.
And again, I think Tim is the perfect example of that. I mean, before they announced that pick, me and you both pretty much agree that Harris is maybe the most liberal person on the national stage. She is definitely a socialist. She is definitely the one that is leaning or basically full-on communist at this point. She's a full-on communist. I'm proud to say it. Because Trump called them comrades, which again kills me every time I hear it. But Tim is probably in the top 3 worst governors in the country. He has destroyed the state of Michigan, or not Michigan, Minnesota. Absolutely made it unrecognizable. Has turned it into one of the worst states in the union. And it's like the citizens don't like it, but they'll continue to vote for him because he has a D by his name. But, not only does he not obviously care about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, gathering in large numbers in the church, we simply don't want that happening. I don't care what you say. The government doesn't have the right to shut down the church. Separation between church and state was made to keep the state out of the church, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Take into context what our founding fathers was dealing with, the Church of England. They didn't just want that meshing. But He obviously doesn't care. And we'll talk about him wanting to confiscate guns and his reasoning why he wanted to confiscate guns, because that's going to be a rant on my part. Graves is already getting ready for that. But, I do want to stick on this, him making a law, making it illegal to discriminate against pedophiles. And we're probably going to get flagged for talking about something this bad and this evil as a pedophile multiple times on the show.
I was going to say,
but he's the one that's done it.
Up. Yeah, it's so messed up. Like, we're not spewing disinformation, which I'm kind of tired of that term at this point. When
I hate it.
You call things something, a certain name, long enough and enough times, it stops having a meaning, because you just call everything that. And that is what the left has done.
They've done it with multiple terms,
Yeah, I mean, racist, fascist. Fascist has completely lost its meaning, because they're calling us who want a small government and want the people, like it says, we the people, to be in charge and to have control, which is, by the way, why Roe v. Wade got overturned, is because it was not in the Constitution. Therefore, it goes back to the states. That's how it's supposed to work.
Amen.
But we're fascists because of it.
No, we're fascist. We want to preserve a real republic. Again, democracy sounds awesome. Everybody has their own voice. Yeah, that sounds awesome if you live in a county like Wayne County, where I'm from. Yeah, makes a lot of sense for the county level to have it. But you take that up to the state or the federal government, I meant, that Mississippi would never matter again. We have 3 million people here. Maybe. You might as well just throw Mississippi out of the union because it won't matter. So same with Alabama, same with Louisiana.
Oh, they would get rid of the South if they could.
Oh, they yeah. Only things that would matter if we had a full-fledged democracy, got rid of the Electoral College, is California, Texas, New York, and if Florida can somehow start getting even more people. Like, people don't realize it. Even Florida would be a lesser power in that. That's how much more people California, Texas, and New York have. It's crazy. And again, the party of democracy, my tale, if this is democracy protecting pedophiles, I don't want to be a part of that. And it's just, we talked about this man's just pure just lack of honor. And I still can't get over the illegal to discriminate against pedophiles. Gavin Newsom.
You are not pro, Tim Walz talks about he's pro-family and stuff. You're not pro-family if you're going to let a doctor mutilate and cut off breasts or genitals, whatever, you want to talk about. If you're going to allow that to happen and let pedophiles be excluded from some type of law, that you are not a family man and you are not a normal man.
No, there's something wrong with him. Either that or he has some creepy friends. Like,
yeah.
Graves, did you know when I was a child, I wanted to be Spider-Man?
I wanted to be an astronaut.
Honestly, as you can tell, I'm not Spider-Man right now. So that shows as children. I see what you did there. As children.
Yeah, sorry.
That dig nabbit Graves. As children, we say we want to be something. And even as as a teenager, I was just this shy, did not like talking to people. I'm still a bit antisocial, but I was a lot more antisocial back then. Heck, I didn't like playing a lot of sports back then. But as I got older, I loved it. I always loved basketball, but I wasn't
same.
I wasn't feeling the life of going to go get tackled by a man 300 pounds when I was in middle school. And heck, did you know that the male brain does not stop maturing until 25?
Yeah.
And in some cases, 30? Do you want to know why that you can't run for the United States Senate until you're 30? Or become president until 35? It's on that same merit that you don't stop maturing until that age. And we're letting kids who don't even have the right to go to war yet, don't have the right to drink, to smoke, they can't do any of that. They can't vote. But they can make a life-altering decision. That's like looking at Mike Tyson when he was 3 and being like, do you want to get a face tattoo? Yeah, he might like it in a couple years, but he also might hate it. It's permanent.
There's plenty of cases where you see some, and usually, honestly, it's biological girls that try to turn into men who end up regretting their decision and trying to detransition, trying to, become a normal woman like they were when they were younger before they started doing that to themselves. And, they realize they messed up. They're speaking out against it now, trying to say, like, we shouldn't be doing this.
Exactly.
Because we think at that age, we think we know what we want, but we don't.
Look, if you're a full-fledged adult that wants to do that, do I disagree with it? Yes, very much so. But in this country, you have the right to do whatever you want. This is a free and you have liberties, you have rights. If I want to shave my head and have a mohawk and run down the street in my underwear, I'll get arrested, but I might find a nudist colony and I can live there with them. I can do that because I have the right and the rights to. I can tell you that my name is Bobby Joe and I identify as an attack helicopter. I can do that because we are in America. If you want to do that, you can do it. I don't care.
Identify as an attack helicopter.
My name is Bobby Joe and I identify as an attack helicopter. But if you want me to agree with that delusion, like Graves, I don't expect you to call me your attack helicopter. I don't expect you to call me Bobby Joe because that's not my name. But that's where the line draws. You don't have the right to stop me from saying my name is Bobby Joe and I'm an attack helicopter, but I don't have the right to force you to say that about me. And the liberals have forgot about that. And more importantly, the liberals have forgotten the fact that we're all young and make mistakes. I shaved my hair off in the 8th grade. No. Never do that again. That small mistake. I've stolen money when I was a child from my stepfather and my father, from my mother.
I've done that from my mom.
Lied, cheated on tests. I did a lot of stuff that I'm not proud of in middle school and high school. Heck, even college, I'm still maturing. But we're putting these kids in a permanent box, and that's what concerns me. And again, Governor Tim is more than happy to do it. He's an old man. He's matured. I think it might have been dropped on his head, but he has matured. If he wants to make a life-altering decision, it is his right as an American and as a man that knows what day, year, and his name to do it. And it disheartens me to see that the children in this country have been given the crap end of the stick. They've been murdered in mass numbers, really a genocide of a generation, like a whole generation. Millions of lives have been lost to abortion. And now we're making it harder for them with, okay, well, you can do this and severely screw up your life and you not even know. And also, by the way, pedophiles are coming after you. They can do it now. California wasn't even ballsy enough to let that pass. They let a more PC version pass. They did. I remember talking about it, but they didn't have a full-fledged, it's wrong to discriminate against pedophiles thing.
Minnesota's weird.
It's so weird.
It's weird without even Tim Walz, but he's really a piece of work that is you can't just be like, oh, this guy sucks and this is the most liberal. These people are dangerous, man. And like Extremely. He comes off, you see these videos of them when they're at rallies and how happy he looks. And yeah, he does look like the awesome grandpa or, the cool uncle that's older. Like, yeah, he comes off that way with his excitement and enthusiasm. I will give him that. He's a very good showman, but he is dangerous. And Kamala Harris is more dangerous.
And that's weird to say, ain't it? Because you're comparing a man that likes pedophiles not to be, discriminated against. And then you're looking at Harris and you're like, really? Which one's the two worst? And honestly, I think Harris is more dangerous. But Tim does not need to be slept on. He might be coming to the crown of the most socialist communist we have in America. He's definitely fighting with Harris for that right, and that's such a weird thing to say. But it's like they're both trying to out-commie the other.
I mean, you got leftists in the past couple of years saying that no, we haven't gone that far left. Y'all have gone that far right. Son, Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. He is he's more moderate than some Republicans are that are in office. No, he's not super moderate. You don't realize that. But I mean,
he's not super moderate, but compared to what a conservative, because like the whole thing's moved left. The conservatives haven't stayed right. They just kept on moving.
Yeah, and the Democrats have gotten so far left that JFK today would be a Republican. I mean, like, there's no way he'd be a Democrat and go along with all this shit. Sorry. I didn't mean to say the S word.
Well, It's going to be explicit anyway. We've been talking about a pedophile for the last 20 minutes. But, going on to something that, that's going to piss me off. I didn't think about it when we did the show, but, this is going to be explicit. Also, Harris has talked about how she does not care about your rights as an American. She will come in and confiscate your Second Amendment rights. Now, again, there are many reasons we have this right. Protect us from the government, protect us from criminals, sport, hunting. Many reasons we have the Second Amendment. Favorite thing about Tim is he at least knows how to attack an amendment. He was like, these are like the weapons I carried into war. Well, here's the problem with that, Tim. You never served in a war. You served during one, but you never got deployed. The only time you were deployed out of the country was France, I think.
Italy.
So, and we're about to get in Tim's stolen valor. We're about to dive into that, and then we're going to dive into one more thing he's done if he couldn't find a way to insult the poor military people anymore, is his military record. He's lied about going to serve. He did serve. He was an E8, but he was promoted to E9, but never filled out the requirements, so they bumped him back down. He
knew about that.
He knew about it, but tried to act like he was I think it's a what's an E9? Master Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major. Told people. Now he's done a great job at lying about it. He tries to word it in a way where you can't. If he ever got called out, well, I wasn't lying. If you're doing that with your military record, my dude, you've already having a massive act of stolen honor, stolen valor. This came up a good decade or two ago. I think someone did another case of stolen valor where they lied about their military service, but he ditched his men. Let's see here. I hope I have that. I might not. It would be very unfortunate if I don't.
They have him on recording in 2004 saying that he was in war and that he watched some type of ceremony at a air base in Afghanistan in 2004, but he was never in Afghanistan.
No, never. He ran away from his duty, left the men he was supposed to be commanding by themselves. They had to promote another guy who Tim's commanding officer said was more worthy of a leadership role. He never saw Tim as a leader. He called Tim out on social media. I would love to stop and read that letter, but I don't seem to have it on my phone. But he called Tim Walz out for stolen valor and saying he was deployed to Afghanistan, saying he carried these weapons into war, saying he fought for this country. And this pisses me off beyond belief because I have a lot of people that served in the military in my family. Stolen valor pisses me off. You are the lowest of low scumbags, a coward, in my opinion, sir, and just a person I can not respect if you paid me to. You piece of crap. Oh, that was hard. Oh, I'm fighting the urge to cuss on my show.
Yeah.
Because this is just the grandest case of a politician being a politician I think I've ever seen, and being the biggest scumbag I've ever seen.
Isn't it so typical of the Democrats too?
Yes.
That they just say things that they know aren't true, but they think they can get away with it. That has become the mantra of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they think they can get away with it because a lot of people don't call them out on their bull crap. But even
media
Harris,
especially doesn't.
Even Harris had to backtrack and say, "Oh, Walz misspoke about his military service."
They did say that. Yeah, how do you misspeak about that? Multiple times over multiple years. Now I'm starting to scream because I'm getting mad. But, how?
One of his lies was in 2004. 20 years ago he started lying. He made the conscious decision. Yes, and I don't see him stopping. If he gets elected as vice president and he goes trying to talk to our troops, he'll probably bring up the fact that, I served and I know the pain and suffering y'all have went through. No, you don't. And how dare you say that you do?
Yeah. Comparing what he went through to Gold Star families, like, no, you can't do that. That's actually terrible that he did that. And a second ago, I just randomly had the thought go through my head to go grab my AR and just like put it on camera and be like, this weapon of war. But then again, it's not a weapon of war.
No,
So-
it's not. He's just an idiot that wants to get guns taken away from the law-abiding citizens so they're easier to control. And if he can control the military too, that's a bonus because they will never rise up against him. But one of the things that pissed me off the most, now, stolen valor, as you can tell, has risen my blood pressure a little bit. But here's the thing that's pissed me off even more. Walz has implied, I have to say implied, because he is very, very choosy of his words to try to make sure that he doesn't get caught, that he is suffering from PTSD from serving in the Afghanistan war, except again, he never deployed to Afghanistan or any combat zones. He never did. There's a tape of this telling, as you said, a Gold Star family during a hearing on PTSD that he deployed to Afghanistan in 2004 and supported, and in support of the Operation Enduring Freedom, and says that he and his troops suffer from mental illnesses and were sewn to the whole room. He lied about having PTSD, something that every soldier in this country from the Revolutionary War to today has suffered, something that scars them for life. I've seen soldiers with PTSD, Mr. Walz, and that is not something you take on yourself. That is the ultimate suffering for this country. Not only did they have to see their friends sacrifice their life, now they're haunted by the service and the sacrifice they've made for this country for more than likely the rest of their lives. And you're lying about you suffering it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most heartbreaking things that you can see on the internet is a veteran going through like a PTSD break. There's a video of this one cop who pulled a guy over, I guess, because he was either speeding or driving erratically, and it's a red truck. I'll never forget it. He gets out. He just asks the cop for a hug, and he's like freaking out. He's like, "Can I get a hug?" And he's like, "I'm a veteran. I have PTSD, and I'm freaking out right now." And the cop happened to also be a veteran, and he was like, "Look, I know, man. Like, I'm a veteran too, man. I'll get you help. All I want to do is get you help." Stuff like that. It breaks your heart because these were guys that went and put their life on the line for the country, and they saw things that most people should not see.
Never see.
And it never leaves them. I think both of us might be tearing up right now, but that's one video I'll never forget. And for him to just throw it out there because he happened to be in the service for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have just said, I was in the service, I left before I was deployed, he still served his country. But the stolen valor and now stolen diagnosis of PTSD on himself, it pisses me off to no end, because if there's one thing that every conservative shares an opinion on, we can always disagree on something. That's a great thing about conservatism, is the fact that we all agree not to agree all the time.
Yeah, and we don't care.
We don't care. Just don't tell us to do what you're telling, and we won't tell you to do what we're telling that you don't want to. But if there's one thing that we can agree on as conservatives, is the treatment of our veterans in this country is awful. And the fact that we should always have a massive level of respect and gratitude. And we honestly do need to do a better job as a country of supporting our veterans when they get back from war. It saddens me to see those videos, but I saw that video a couple weeks ago, actually, before I saw this. And it just, oh my gosh, it broke me. just seeing that, knowing what my family members who have went through served. Now my friends, I've gotten to the age where I know people who are my age who have went to serve, and they've come back and told me of what they saw. And I am a man who has seen a lot of stuff in my life. I have seen a lot of bad crap. But even I was hit to the core and could not believe the mental torment these men and women have went through. And it breaks me every time we talk about it. And I try my best to be an ear for my friend, because I'm the only person he wants to talk to about it, because he doesn't want to even admit he has PTSD. And then you have Walz just parading it around in an open discussion about veterans and their mental health at the House level.
I'll tell you the only thing, and I know this discussion is about Tim Walz, but I think, and I posted my last TikTok video that I posted before I got banned, which the fact I got banned for this is pretty astonishing. It's a video of Joe Biden in the debate against Donald Trump saying that no service members died under his presidency. And then it's Speaker Mike Johnson saying 13 service members were killed in Afghanistan under your presidency. We will never forget them. And he starts naming them out one by one, and it's got a picture of each one. That was my last TikTok video. It was a memorial to those people, because the president of the United States would not even admit that those people were killed under his administration. And, you know, I cried making the video, but yet I got banned for posting it just because I wanted people to remember those soldiers that died for someone as terrible as Joe Biden.
And that's just absolutely saddening and maddening that in this country there are many monuments, there are many ways to honor a veteran, and when you try to actually do one, you get the video taken down or something like that. Or when you make a post on Facebook honoring Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Independence Day, which honestly, Independence Day needs to be a veteran-themed holiday. Yes, we signed the Declaration of Independence, but we owe our independence to these men that sacrificed everything for us.
That declaration would have been burned and torn up if it weren't for what they did to win that revolution.
Exactly. And it just, it blows me up. I'm getting so mad at all this, and it's really pissing me off. And he's done this all for political gain is the thing that makes me mad. You know, he's not doing it to shine light on veteran mental illness, to say I will be the veterans' political candidate. No, doesn't touch them.
Why has he not helped the
stick.
homeless veterans in Minnesota? He isn't. I've never heard of him doing anything for veterans in Minnesota.
Exactly. There's so many crises facing the veteran community, and Trump did his part. And that's why one thing I'm excited about seeing Trump in office again is getting us back on track with a decent program for our veterans, to have a 10-year plan. Okay, well, this is what we need to do to make sure we upgrade what the veterans are coming back to, because there's so many veterans that come back homeless or broken mentally or physically, and it's just enough is enough. And that's why I love Trump. But yeah, Walz doesn't touch the ones in his own home state with a 10-foot stick. Just lets them stay out in the cold while stealing their valor, their honor. And Walz, that is why
I'm sure.
I will do everything in my power to make sure you are not elected.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure that there are homeless veterans on the street who actually went to war, actually experienced even, you know, anywhere between being bombed or killing someone or having hand-to-hand combat to save their life. Like, there are veterans on the street in Minnesota, I'm sure, that have gone through that. And he quit his command position, completely left the military when he knew they were going to go to Iraq. So, yeah, sure, he was in there for 24 years. But and I'm not going to disgrace him for being in the military. It comes to a point where it's like, all right, so what if he didn't go to a combat zone? But when you act like you did and you didn't,
that's the thing that pisses me off. He served for 20 plus years in the military. He did his time of service to the country. If he wants to leave and not go to an active war zone at his age,
sure.
well, I mean, it's a young man's game. I hate to say it because I'm one of the young men that'd be sent, but it's true. If he wasn't a good leader, like his commanding officer said, if he was looking for retirement anyway or his contract expiring, yet leave. Our problem isn't with the fact that he left before getting sent to a war zone, or when he figured out he was being sent to a war zone, he resigned. That's okay. It's the fact that you're stealing valor, and honor. It's acting like you suffer from PTSD. You could say you served. That wouldn't be a lie. You did serve this country for 20 plus years as a veteran, as a soldier. You did. You didn't go off in any war zones, but you did. There's jobs in the military for everybody to do. Someone's got to clean the bathroom. I mean, that sounds bad, but I'm being honest. There has to be someone at all levels. And Waltz did his job at one of the levels. But now he acts like he was a soldier that went off to war and suffers from PTSD, and I just can't allow that to stand. And I'm probably going to bring it up a lot all the way up until the election in November. Because I just can't take it.
On the jobs that I'm in charge of, like when I go to Wisconsin and we have 250,000 doors for Trump there, when I go there, we're told by our clients to do it a certain way, bring up certain messaging, ask certain questions because it's built into our app. So we do have to ask those certain questions to get the responses we want. But I'm going to instruct them, and I don't know what the script is going to look like yet, but I'm going to instruct them for sure to just bring up a lot of Waltz's, not a lot, because these people at the door, they don't want to talk for 30 minutes.
No, yeah.
But, at least bring up a couple things about Waltz or Kamala Harris. Like, I'm going to talk to my people individually because most of them have worked for me before. And, we're really going to be pushing that messaging. And I just feel like I'm kind of tired of the media pushing these people the way that they do.
Oh, God.
Because when you have people like Tim Walz, who we've talked about his record so much, how in the world are you going to act like, I don't care who you are, how do these media companies even fathom talking about someone like him the way they do and pushing them to be the people in charge of the country?
They have to have whole meetings dedicated to it to figure out how we want to spin this guy. Like, when all this stuff started coming out about him, NBC, CBS, CNN were all in like a huddle meeting being like, all right, guys, how are we going to get this fixed? Say he misspoke for 20 years. Oh, okay. Sounds good to me. I mean, there's sometimes they can't hide it, and it's pretty obvious. And there's other times where they'll look you dead in the eye and lie. But they are just masterful at it. I would love to go into it soon, but we've been almost going for 2 hours, and I don't know how many of y'all would watch that long of an episode. So we are about to have to wrap it up. Graves, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I hope that people do listen to a lot of what we said, no matter how long it is.
Yeah, me too.
Which, of course, I probably would have had to set this earlier to make them do it. But at the same time, I just, whether you believe anything that we say or not, if you've gotten to this point, whether you believe anything we say or not, look it up, and you'll find out it's true. Because I don't come on here I'm not your typical politician that's just going to talk about stuff. I want to run for office one day, but I want to do it truthful. And I'm not going to be taking big donor money or anything. I'm probably only going to just run for state house or something, something somewhat local.
Me and you both.
Yeah, hey, maybe we'll run at the same time, and then both get elected at the same time, be in the state house together. I'll see you in Jackson.
I feel so bad for that house. So bad for it.
You and me are both going to stand up at the same time and start berating the other.
We
the
are going to be hated people. You know that. Hated, even our own party.
Probably because we're not going to want to be part of the establishment and let them control us.
No. Oh gosh, we're going to cause so much crap.
But yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of good stuff this past year since you started this, and we just got to keep growing. We got to keep doing it. Nothing ever happens. Nothing comes easy. Just like Donald Trump says, never quit. We can never quit. We've got to keep doing what we're doing, and eventually, it'll make a difference. I never thought I'd be able to speak to Donald Trump. I got to speak to Donald Trump. So, you just keep doing what we're doing, especially you. And you'll be getting an award soon. There'll be real confetti next time.
Oh yeah, real confetti. Well, thank you, Graves, and yeah, some great words to end on. So I'm not even going to try to top it. Thank you, Graves, for coming on. I do want to thank Sam, who came on. Was a great addition to the show today. He had to leave early because of work. So if you noticed, he left there in the commercial break. I meant to bring it up after the commercial break. I might not have. But I do want to thank Sam because he was great to have on, fit in perfectly with everything. And I ask that everybody please share this episode out. Take Graves' words to heart that he just ended the show on. Leave us a 5-star review, and to make sure you check us out on your podcatcher of choice. We are on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Cashbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Good Pods, as well as the biggest India. Just throwing that back out there for the people that are just going to be so confused. And then if you want to see the video format of the show, the episodes are released on Tuesday on Rumble and YouTube. Check out conservativecolonel.com. You have a link to our store and so many other things. Hopefully we'll have some stuff in the store for you. Hopefully we'll continue to be doing some things. Check us out on our social medias. We're on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook, and YouTube, and of course Rumble, and whatever you listen to us on the podcast. Thank you guys all for watching. God bless America, and God bless Mississippi.